I've studied thousands of videos of aspiring content creators all speaking on camera for the very first time, and the number one thing between them awkwardly fumbling through their words and speaking confidently and naturally is how much they could be themselves when they pressed record.
Hey guys, hey, how's it going?
Because if you could just be who you are naturally when you're at your most charismatic, like when you're having a good laugh with your family, or when you're explaining something passionately to one of your best mates, then content creation would become a lot easier. You would start connecting way more with your audience, and you start gaining more traction a lot more quickly. So why is it that you become a different person as soon as you start recording? And why is that person so much worse at communicating than you naturally are? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain why and give you a two-step framework to feeling totally like yourself when you speak on camera. We need to firstly understand that you are who you are in the context of other people. And so you're a slightly different person around your family than you are around your friends, than you are at work. Each of those different set of people will receive a slightly different set of communication habits and behaviors from you. Secondly, we need to understand that you are who you are in the context of the location or situation that you are currently in at any given time. So you could be with your family slobbing out on the sofa, drinking a beer, and you have a certain set of communication habits and behaviors in that situation and location. You can also be with that same family at a wedding or a cocktail party and have a very different set of behaviors and communication habits. And so the world around you is constantly and subtly shaping how you behave, mostly dependent on who you are with and in what situation. So now let's consider the situation that most people are in when they try and speak on camera. Well, firstly, in terms of people, who are you actually talking to when you are speaking on camera? Most people aren't aware of this, and it's likely that you're either therefore talking to the whole internet, wherever you're going to post this video, or you're talking to no one in particular. And both of those people contexts are pretty weird. It can be quite relieving to understand this because you might be thinking, oh, why am I such a weirdo on camera? Is that who I actually am? Is that how I usually act? It probably isn't. It's probably because you are just putting yourself in a weird situation, and most of us act weird when we're in weird situations. So secondly, let's look at the location and situation that you're in when you do speak on camera. Well, most likely you're in your house, in your room, alone. And so who are you when you're alone? And is that the same person that you'd want to present to your audience? And for most people, there's a big mismatch here. So overall, what's going on is that you are in a vacuum, a void. There's no people, there's no location and situation. And so you are trying to figure out who you need to be and who you want to be with no external feedback about how you should behave. And so what happens to most people at this point is that they kind of become no one in particular, a very generic, vanilla, please all, people-pleasing version of themselves. And when you stop record and watch this person back on camera, that's exactly when you get the feeling of, oh God, this isn't me. Which begs the question, how can you be your natural self on camera? Well, logically, you need two things. And the first one is somebody to talk to. And the second one is a context and situation to talk to them in. And once you have those two things, that will then give you the ground. It will give you something concrete that you can latch onto that starts shaping your behaviors and communication habits towards being your natural best self whenever you record, rather than existing in a vacuum and a void, feeling like an absolute weirdo. So this is the two-step process that will help you feel totally natural whenever you speak to camera. And it's important to get step one right, because it can actually do more harm than good. And I've seen this kill the charisma of so many creators on YouTube if they do it wrong. And so I'd like you to imagine a guitar teacher on YouTube. He's called Dave, and he teaches his students how to shred and solo on the guitar.
Yeah, mate, rock on.
Now, Dave has been struggling. He's been doing endless retakes and constantly doubts himself whenever he speaks. And this is starting to get in the way of his content workflow, and he's becoming the bottleneck in his production. Now, Dave's somebody who pays very close attention to what's going on in his niche. He watches his competitors' channels, and there's quite a lot of criticism in his space over certain methods. Some guitar teachers have very strong opinions about this method or that method. And what Dave was finding when he was speaking to camera was he was constantly plagued by these fears of, oh, is this right? Is that the right way to say it? Or is this methodology, is that sort of technically correct, or is that actually technically wrong? And one day, after doing 12 retakes in a single day, banging his head against the wall, Dave decided enough was enough. And a student of his popped into his mind called Roger. Now, Dave loved working with Roger. Roger was a legend. He did what he was told. He put in loads of work, got better really fast, and he was an absolute joy to be around. He's just a good bloke. And so Dave said, you know what? Screw these experts in my niche. I'm going to stop trying to get everything right. I'm just going to make videos to Roger. And as soon as Dave started purely talking to Roger, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He became so much more fun, way more relaxed, and not only did he teach better, but he also started playing big. He started going after those big, bold ideas that actually started moving the needle for his YouTube channel. And so step one is to choose a specific person who you're going to talk to. This person will give you something to latch on, ground to stand on, that's going to start dictating your behaviors, communication habits, and also how you speak, your tone of voice. And what that's going to help you do is, instead of being in this vacuum of weirdness, you'll start feeling like you're actually talking to a real human being. So the best practice here is to pick somebody who brings out the natural charisma in you already. And best practice is to choose an ideal client, because if you talk to your perfect client in the same tone of voice, you'll likely attract way more of those people into your world through your videos. And if you don't have clients yet, try and pick your best friend. Now, step two will either pour rocket fuel on your on-camera delivery, or it will make the vibe very weird very fast. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to a work party, but they can get kind of strange. Your colleague Jonathan, who you're used to working very productively alongside in a team, starts making weird, mean comments at you that are supposed to be banter, but you just can't take it. And Cassandra, your boss, who you're used to following orders from, has a few martinis and starts blinking her eyelashes at you suggestively. And you're very confused about how aroused you are. Now, you're very confused because the people haven't changed, but the context has changed. And those people who you're used to having one set of behaviors now have another set of behaviors. You've gone from tidy office to chaotic bar, and no one knows quite how to behave or where the boundaries are. So after you've chosen the person, step two is to carefully choose the situation or context in which you are talking to them. So if Dave, our favorite guitar teacher, decides to talk to Roger, but he imagines he's on stage and that Roger is in the audience, he's still going to come off as slightly impersonal, like he's probably shouting at the camera rather than having a conversation with somebody. But if Dave decides to remember a time that he taught Roger in the back of a pub, where they're playing guitar like they were best mates and talking about their favorite bands and showing each other cool new scales that they've learned, then that would be something that I would watch every day of the week. So have you been taking notes? You haven't, have you, you cheeky monkey? Make sure that you have written down who you're talking to and in which context and situation, and see how that changes your delivery next time you speak on camera. Now, I've made a checklist of all of the on-camera habits that build a lot of trust and connectivity with your viewers when they watch your videos, and it's called the first 10 seconds checklist, because ideally you're going to be doing a lot of these things in the first 10 seconds of your video. If you want that, it's completely free. It's in the description below. You can just download that. Now, even if you've got the person who you're talking to and the situation that you're talking to them in, you're still going to come up against a problem, which is, how do you actually speak coherently? How do you speak your ideas to camera without a script in a way that still makes sense for your audience? Well, this entire video, I did it completely without a script. And if you want to learn how to do the same, watch this video next.